Alright everybody, welcome back to a fun-filled week 2, and we'll do a couple of housekeeping issues before we start. We had a first set of tutorials last night that went very well, and it went well especially for those people who have prepared well, read the case, tried to learn something about the industry, and you've had that case now for several days. So as we do tutorials later on today after the class, I would assume that we'll have the same experience, that you have done good homework, and that you can competently talk about the case. We also had a discussion last week about being assertive, and you will remember that after we got clarity on the word, we had a discussion in the group, quite a good one, in the Facebook group of what assertive means. And I think the general consensus, the general agreement was that it is a good thing in business, as long as you don't insult, as long as you're not disrespectful, as long as you don't beat people up. But being assertive means that you stand up for yourself, that you showcase that you have knowledge, that you have competence, and therefore you will be noticed because you then make a good contribution. So this class works on the basis that all of you make a contribution, because when you leave here, eventually you will go, and everybody wants you to leave. Your parents want you to leave really quickly. Your friends want you to finally earn money so you can pay for dinner for a change. So what we're after here is that you very quickly move into a job where you can be contributive, where you can be noticed, where you can make a difference. And that only comes if you participate. We will use those tutorials to get ready for assessment number 1, because the online management discussion is very much a discussion about a short case. Same way as we just did in the tutorials, we'll do today, and we'll do for some of you on Saturday. We'll try to keep the tutorials for the class people as we had scheduled, right Thursdays after the face-to-face class. We'll then have for the offshore customers the Wednesday afternoon or evening hours, and we have Saturday morning for distance people and those who like Saturday morning better than Wednesday night. If we need additional times and hours, we'll make those available. You just have to let me know. Anyone in this group who is not yet a Facebook group member? Okay, I got you sorted. Okay, good. What are you going to do about it?
I sent information to you at the...
Okay, so it's probably my problem then. I apologize. So send me another message on Messenger so that I know who you are, and then I will make sure that you're in that group. All right, in the back there? Same thing. Okay, good. Get cracking on that so that we move along. That means that we're pretty much all together, and that's a good place to be. That is also the discussion forum. We'll be discussing any questions you have regarding the assessments, and you will see that the tutorials pretty much are the same as the online management discussions, except that in the tutorials you get the case before. In the online management discussion, since it's an assessment, you don't get the case before, you get the case when we start. So you have to be reasonably quick to understand key issues and to apply them. And that's what we're going to train you for over the next 5 or 6 weeks. We'll then have assessment 2, which is assessment 2 the group session or the individual? It's the group session probably, isn't it? So we'll have the individual. Okay, good. So assessment 2 will work through in terms of a very detailed matrix, a grading matrix that is already online, and then group 3, or assessment 3 is the group session. We need a group of 5 people. You get to choose your own 5 people, and we talked last time about the concept of diversity. That means a difference of skill, background, experience, belonging, history, and so forth, so that you have as many different inputs as you can get. If by the end of next week I have groups of 5, then that's fine. I may add a 6th person into your group if I need to find a home. Otherwise, if you are not in a group of 5 by next week, I will find a group for you. That means by the end of next week, we're pretty much all done with the group assignments. Any questions, any housekeeping issues, anything that I can help with? Cool. Either you're very smart or you're very shy, so we'll work on either of the 2. We will go through a session. Sir, what happened? What happened? You're late. You're late. Okay, good. The rule is that you wait outside until 11:15 when everybody comes in who's late. Do not come in while we're working because you interrupt our work. All right? You understand that? Good man. So what we're going to do is today focus on a topic that is one of the 4 topics that we have here. We have global, strategy, success and failure. What happened, ma'am? Yes, you're late. Okay, good. So next time, 11:15 if you're late. Otherwise, don't come in and disturb us, please. Thank you. We have success and failure, strategy, governance, and global. Today is global. Global has 2 key issues that relate to you specifically, since very few people in this room are not global. And that is A, that's where the money is. There's always more money outside a country than inside a country. Even the biggest country, there's more money outside than inside. And we follow the money because money ultimately has opportunity attached, and it means that you're able to attach to a stream of activity where you'd be successful. But there is a second reason why global is especially important as a discussion point for you. And that is that those people who want to stay in New Zealand and find a job in New Zealand working here and ultimately migrating here will have to apply for a job. So let's play this through real quick. Let's assume that you apply for a job in New Zealand and you are exactly as qualified, exactly the same age, exactly the same experience as a New Zealand person. Is it more or less likely that you will get the job if you compete against a New Zealand person? Okay, so you didn't want to answer the question, but you said something different. It's the same thing. So the New Zealand person will probably win. Agree? Fair or unfair? No, it's unfair. You can only say fair if there was a difference, but I told you they're exactly the same. So if a New Zealand person wins, being exactly the same as the other person, then it's not fair. There's no reason why they should win. So we need to face the reality that in every country there will be a built-in bias, an unfair preference for people you know can associate with, understand locals. If I go to Japan and I fly in a Japan Airlines plane, there will be everybody Japanese and 1 German and 1 Swedish and 1 Italian, taller, not black hair, looking different. I walk in the street in Shanghai, I will look different. And therefore, I will not be as easily used for jobs or assignments as a local. It's just what it is. It's unfair, but it's what it is. So we need to work with it and manage it. So if you were to argue that you are a person of same age, same background as a New Zealand person, in the context of global business, do all of you that I see here today have something to offer that is different and more valuable than a New Zealand person can offer? How many languages do you speak?
3.
No. If this would be you, this is you. Okay, yes, wake up. Look at me. How many languages do you speak?
There's 2 languages.
2? Good. How many languages does the average New Zealander speak?
1.
Ah, ka-ching! We have a benefit, right? Okay. If I needed to know how to export into China and find a distribution company in China, would you be able to go onto a Chinese website, read it in Mandarin, and make a phone call and talk in Mandarin? Say yes. Good. All right, now we're getting somewhere. So, average New Zealander can or cannot do that? Okay, good. All of you have grown up in a different culture. You have seen different people. You have heard different songs. You have seen different ways of being successful. You're bringing additional value into a company in New Zealand that wants to participate in a global market. So, if you have the chance to get a great job After 6 months when you finish, for those 6 months, would you work for free? Good. So what if you went to a company that you researched during your studies and you said, I can set you up with a distribution system in India, in China, in Mongolia, in Vietnam, in Kazakhstan, in Russia, and I can get you probably $50,000 of sales in the first 3 months through your distributor. What would most company managers say when you offered that?
Yes.
Yes. So, and that was a big gleaming eye yes, wasn't it? Because they see ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. You're producing value, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. So during the 6 months, do you think you're from India, right?
Yeah.
Do you think what part of India? South India. Goa.
No.
Kochi.
Yeah.
Oh, Kochi. Good. You look like a Kochi girl. So if you looked at 6 months, would you be able to find in Kochi, in Mumbai, in Bengaluru, in Coimbatore, would you be able to find people that might be interested in that New Zealand product?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could talk to them as an Indian person. You could talk to them about markets and prices and things without any hurdles. Would you be able to get a sale in 6 months if the product is good?
Yeah.
All right. Can the Kiwi people do that? Not as easily. So you have a unique, a special ability to make yourself valuable in a small, remote country that desires more exports. Man in the white shirt, what is more important for countries, imports or exports? 50-50 chance. There's a trapdoor under your seat or there's gold stars. Import or export, what is better for countries?
Export.
Exports wins. Why?
Make money.
Okay, good. When you export, you get to keep the money. When you import, you have to pay the money, a giant sucking sound of US dollars out of the US into Europe, into China. You lose the money when you import because you have to pay those people who export to you. Now, you are all in New Zealand. Are you for New Zealand import income or export income? Who said import? Hands up. That's very good because that was the wrong answer. You are exports because we don't care where you or the product goes, we care where the money goes. And for you, where does the money go? Thank you very much. It stays with us, and thank you for a good breakfast you paid for today. So the idea is that when we look at opportunities for most firms today, it is abnormal, it would be inexcusable if you did not focus on exports, on imports, on global trade. And not only does that require that you ship goods or services across borders, but it could well be that the globality of markets hits you even local. If you go to a hospital in New Zealand, we have 19 health boards, big hospitals, a couple of small hospitals in New Zealand throughout the country. We have 3 big ones in Auckland. If you go to a hospital, a health board in New Zealand, how could you argue that a health board is in fact part of a global market when they are located in Auckland? On first glance, people would say, you're local, you're a building in Auckland, all of your patients are from Auckland, how could you be global?
Medications that are coming from outside.
Okay, good. Your patients will be a group of locals and non-locals and foreign-born locals and traveled locals and strangers, and they come with communication needs, they come with expectations, they come with a back-home expectation of what healthcare is about. You need to be able to deal with them. What else would be arguments why even a hospital, a local hospital, is part of a global chain? Okay, good. All of the technology that you use comes from overseas. We make nothing in New Zealand. Every syringe is made overseas, every pill is made overseas, every MRI is made overseas, every line that feeds from a solution into your body is made overseas. With that comes standards. With that come procedures, with that comes knowledge that you need to know from overseas. 45% of your medical staff will be foreign born. That means that a hospital that wants to recruit good people recruits in a global market. Because the Filipino nurse that will come to New Zealand to work here can also go to Ireland, to Dubai, to Germany, to France. They can go anywhere, and we have to make them come to New Zealand. So you would be very hard-pressed to find a business, an activity in New Zealand that is not either directly or indirectly connected to global markets. That's where you individually hold an advantage over the average Kiwi applicant for a job. Make sure you play that advantage. You highlight to your employer how much you can contribute because you have the ability to understand global markets. Global markets are important for a number of reasons. First of all, we sell more. Global markets are always bigger than local markets, and as you sell more, you end up with making more product that brings your product cost down. That means your margins increase, and quite often product that is sold overseas is sold at a much higher price than locals, so there is a greater revenue opportunity. Fonterra, our biggest exporter, the milk company, sells a lot more overseas than local, and it makes more money overseas than local. We don't get good fish in New Zealand because the big tuna that you would otherwise have for sushi in New Zealand goes to an ice box when it comes off the ship. It flies to Auckland Airport, it meets the flight up to Tokyo, and it's going to be on the Tokyo sushi fish market the next night, and it will sell for $25,000 to $40,000 depending on weight. We can't pay that, so we don't get to see that fish. We can only say bye-bye tuna. And if the box is too small and the fish is too big, they cut the back off, and then somebody gets to take that piece home, and that's how you get tuna in New Zealand. We have very often not the products in the country that at a higher price get sold overseas, because for companies it makes no sense to sell for a lower product here when they can sell for a higher product overseas. And you will remember that from your review of the Manuka honey case that we'll talk about in the tutorial. We have a huge impact from global markets on research and development.